Okay, everybody, it's day 22 of my particular YouTube challenge, my YouTube 90-day challenge. And yesterday I spoke a little bit in response to somebody who had asked me a series of questions about the issue of how you pick a challenge. And what I started with was saying that if you chose the challenge of putting up a YouTube video every day, that in itself is significant because what it develops are master skills like persistence, consistency, a kind of tenacity, and a continuity of exercising something that you do over and over again that builds muscle. It's like going to a gym to do this. And it also cracks your ideas and breaks up your ideas of what your limits are and whether you can really do something that long and so on and so forth. But let me talk a little bit more today about why 90 days is significant. I talk about this in a lot of different places in articles and so on, but here's the big significant thing. 90 days is a period of time that's long enough for you to actually make a transformational change. There's a lot of stuff out on the internet about 21 days to change a habit or to establish a habit. And there are certain things that you could learn in 21 days, and it's not that they wouldn't be of no significance at all, but it's an extremely isolated way. I'm getting a phone call now. I'm going to have to ignore it. You hear the little tone going off? I'll get it later. Anyway, it's nah, I'm going to stop. Hey, Kyle. Hey, I was just recording a video and I'm going to interrupt it now. Okay, I don't know if you know about the concept of synchronicity. I'm sure you've heard of it. Anyway, that was Kyle Cease who was calling me on the phone. I got into this because of Kyle Cease. Kyle Cease is that comedian, and I went to his workshop. And I went to the workshop because I mentioned in an early video that he was talking about a way to put things that you were going to do in the future into the past tense. And I was curious about that because of my psychotherapy background and the whole idea of narrative therapy and various kinds of things that are related to this particular technique he was working with in this 3-day workshop. In any case, he calls me in the middle of my doing this video, and he got me into this. And then while I'm on the phone with him, he says, you know, what I think you ought to really do is do that workshop. He calls it Kyle Legoing because his name is Kyle, and his friend Diego and he were messing around with this and started to work with it and found some interesting things coming from it. And then I heard about it a few months later. And so he thinks that I ought to do Kyle Legoing live. We'll see. It might be interesting to video myself trying to do this past tense recreation before the creation has happened. Back to the topic. In 90 days, you can make a transformational change, and there's no reason for you not to work at it and do it and be playful about it and enjoy it and commit yourself to 90 days of doing something directly related. And my belief, based on putting these videos up, is that if you commit yourself to making a video every day in which you discuss this and you go through all the steps, you begin to warm to this. And it may just be that if I start doing the exercise, interesting things will happen. It'll be a creative experiment. It'll certainly up the ante over what I've been doing so far. But for you, stay with me and follow what happens, and we'll see. I think, though, for you alone, in terms of picking a project, if you picked the one of putting a video up every day, I don't think you could go wrong because it forces so many actions on your part. So much courage, so much stepping away from whatever safety place you've been hanging out in. And it puts it on the line. Plus, you make a commitment and you make it publicly. All that is to the good. Now, other things you could choose to do, though, are or include anything that you know you've been postponing and you've been saying maybe someday, or wouldn't it be cool if. You've got to transform wouldn't it be cool if to wasn't it cool when. Wasn't it cool when I did that? Wasn't it cool when I decided to make a 90-day commitment and stop fooling around, stop beating around the bush, decided to be willing to make a fool out of myself if that's what happened, but to be in front of a camera live, getting into the thing that I wanted to do. Now, you could find a way around the camera and not do the camera thing, but I think that has a lot of power. I think it has power over anything you do that's less public, more secret, more between you and whatever, because you can fudge a little bit. You can fall back into that easy out, that sort of somewhat mediocre challenge. This is a challenge that's pretty bold. So that's today's installment. Let's see what I do tomorrow. Who knows where I'll go next?